we start with something small, then we ideate, then we close with something, then we ideate again, then we close with something, and it's all the way
a
around,
never-ending
right?
circle. So the topic we're going to talk about today is the intersection of UX and product management. So Paula, my first question is, can you elaborate on the role of UX research within the realm of product strategy?
Sure thing. So I think that I've mentioned this a couple of times before. Whenever you're building a strategy, you need to make decisions, right? And every decision needs to have a background, and you need to be able to make smart decisions and wise decisions. And you need to make sure that you're accomplishing whatever your user needs. Not only their wants, not only your assumptions, but their actual needs. So you normally work on user research to reduce that margin and build something that you know from the beginning will be successful.
So if you have to pick like where exactly those disciplines intersect and complement each other, it should be in the research?
Disciplines as in strategy and research?
Yeah, as product strategy and UX research.
Okay, so UX research it has two functions, right? The first one is to build. So whenever you're building anything, you need to make sure that it's something that people will actually use and that they actually need. In most cases, if they need it, they will use it. I think a great example is, for example, in Mexico, remember when you had to pay your electricity bills?
Of course.
Yes, it was a
Yeah.
mess, right? You had to
Or
go
horrible.
in person to the cashier, send the money, like the physical money, because you couldn't even pay by debit or credit card. And then they build an app. And the app is very hard to use.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
Yes, but you use it anyways, right?
Well, I pay through my bank. It's so much easier because, yeah.
Well, but a lot of people who don't have banks, they still use the app. And the reason why they use it is because they need it. So if you find out that people actually need your service, that they actually like your idea, right? You start to build it. And then comes strategy. Then you start ideating, you create concepts, but then strategy can always go in a side lane, right? You can start ideating based on a lot of assumptions. So you always need to validate. So researchers work together with strategists all the time, making sure that whatever strategists are doing has a background, right? That it's going to be used, that people actually need it. And then you need a lot of rounds to actually validate whatever you build, whenever you build it, right? So let's say, for example, if you build an app, you strategize on how you're going to build it. You say, okay, this is my product roadmap based on what people need, right? Your initial research. But then you need to come back to them and ask them, is this what you were thinking about, right? Is this something you would use? Yes, no, why not, right? So you need to start building again. And here is where research, strategy, and UX and UI intersect, right? Because whenever research is, let's say, the foundation thing for all of the rest. So if people say something, that they need something, that the strategy needs to be built around that, but also UX needs to change some things, and also UI needs to work a lot of things so that on the front, it looks exactly like it's easy to use, that people can use it, right? And that's the way that we usually intersect. So we start with something small, then we ideate, then we close with something, then we ideate again, then we close with something, and it's iterative all the way
a
around,
never-ending
right?
circle.
Exactly. The process can exist as a never-ending story. And you also depend a lot on context, right? Because sometimes, I think I gave already an example with AI. So before, let's say that you had a search engine, right? And they were very, very slow, like within apps. And now everyone is using artificial intelligence, right? So you need to iterate your product based on these things that are happening within your context, because users are now expecting that.
Yeah.
So then you need to build research again, you need to ideate again, you need to strategize again. So the whole process begins. So it's a never-ending story.
You mentioned that most of the times when you are creating something that is answering for a user need, it will be something that they will use. But in your experience, have you built something based on a need of a user, but it wasn't something that they are going to use or they didn't use it?
Yes, it's very common. And this is the part where strategy, UX and UI really matter, right? Because it's not only figuring out their needs and their pain points, it's actually building something that they can use and that they find it friendly, and it's actually, giving them some sort of satisfaction and shortening and streamlining something in the daily life. So this is where everyone comes in. If you discover a need, but it's very, very bad, handle it in the UX or UI way, then you will stop using it, right? Because you're going to be like, it's easier for me to go back to the beginning and just do it the way that I used to do it.
Yeah, of course. And another question, as a product strategist, how do you incorporate user experience consideration into the broader product development roadmap? And if you have some examples, that will be amazing.
Sure thing. So to be honest with you, I don't like to think as a product strategist and then a UX designer and the UI designer. I like to see ourselves as designers because, to be honest with you, we have to work hand in hand. Okay. So there are a lot of things that we need to incorporate from them. The first one is, how is the product going to look like, right? You might have like a crazy idea on how it's going to look like, but then they provide all of the technical aspects that you say, okay, wow, so that wasn't as easy as I thought, right? So something that you thought, oh, it's going to be developed in a week. So let's say the product, you're talking about a roadmap, right? So it has to be on stages. You can say, oh, this stage is, I don't know, a week long. And then they tell you, no, that is 4 months long, right? So I need to run a research round again. I need to validate my ideas. I need to develop them, right? So I think that's the first part. And the second part is always thinking about what the UX team is establishing whenever you're building that roadmap, right? So if they say, okay, so this is probably not working, they are the ones that firsthand are going to tell you if something is not working. Then you need to build that into your roadmap and you need to build that into your strategy. So it's not all strategy, right? And mostly when you have products that have already been made, it's very different to build a product from scratch than actually working on a product that already exists, right?
I can imagine.
So if you say, let's say, for example, a strategy, oh, I want to grow my product and I want to, I don't know, share it in 3 more markets, right? And then UX comes and tells you, well, you don't even have an onboarding tool, like, how are you going to do this in LATAM if people don't actually pay attention to that? They're not even going to be able to use it. So you need to rearrange, right? And change the flows and change basically everything so that it works out. So we work together hand in hand every single second of the day, at least us, because whatever we tell each other is very important. I wouldn't even dare to build a product roadmap without a UX or a UI designer present.
And do you follow or do you have any methodologies, or how do you make this effective? This, I don't know, you mentioned that you create this roadmap with everybody, with the UX, with the UI, everybody, the project strategist, the researcher. So do you follow any methodology, or how do you ensure that the insights from the UX research are effectively like integrated into the decision making?
Okay, so I think integrating those insights belongs to both the researcher, but it also belongs to the strategist and to the UX designer. So I'm used to working with people who see a lot of value in research, and that's something that I really like about my job, right? So we try to keep it in mind all of the time. And every single time that you work on a roadmap, you have to think of a journey. You have to think of a cycle, right? Because as I already mentioned, it goes round and round and round, but each cycle might be repeated or ended, and you need to always map that out. And the only way that you're going to actually map it out is by understanding, as I already mentioned, what people want, what people need, how can I iterate, right? When should I iterate? And how? Because that's when the UX and the UI come in, right? With the how. How am I going to do this? And then they just come in and say, oh, we could do this or that. You're like, oh, amazing. It's actually doable, right? So I think that's our main strategy, just planning that roadmap, the trick of that journey, the trick is that that journey needs to be personalized per product. Because as I already told you, context plays a very important role, right? It's very different to talk about politics than about education. So it's different building a product around education than politics or healthcare even, right? So you need to be sort of keeping updated all the time about what's happening around you, how are the other products working, what are new technologies that need to be implemented, so that you can actually build a logical and a useful time frame, right, for everyone.
And in this process, like who has the last call, who make the final answer? Like I can imagine that maybe in some process, like maybe the researcher is like, I don't think this is the correct way to do it. And the UX is, no, it is. The UX designer is, and maybe the product strategist is, no, I don't think so. So how do you come to a final decision?
The user.
The user.
That's
Always
why we
the user.
validate. Of course, always the user. That's why we validate. If we have a lot of
course.
mixed opinions, we just say, okay, let's show it to the people who will be using it. And if they say,
Of
hey,
course.
I like it blue, not pink, then whoever chose blue wins.
And the business goals or I don't know, maybe the client, maybe they will change that or no?
It has happened a lot of times because clients usually come to us with a lot of assumptions. And they say, this is what I want to build because I want to build it this way. So part of the research process is challenging their assumptions and going, okay, so you're assuming this or that. But then again, when you talk to people, they might say, no, I hate that. Like, I don't need it, right? So they have to rethink and rethink. And this is the part of the strategist, helping them actually come with a business plan that can fit everything. And that's why it's an interesting role, right? Because you need to fit within the product, you need to fit business, you need to fit the client, the user, and the UX UI design, plus developers, which is the extra mile, right? Because also you can come with something crazy and wild. You can say, oh, I want to build a robot that, I don't know, can talk to people and help them with but a physical one, right? And then people come and say like, yeah, it's going to cost you this amount. And the client goes like, oh my God, like, no. Right? So the role of the strategist is incorporating all of those parts into something that works.
Okay.
We're usually called mediators because that's one of our main jobs, right?
Of course. Okay, so product strategy often involves setting long-term goals and vision for a product. How do you ensure that UX considerations are integrated into the strategic vision, and how do you measure the success of UX initiatives?
Okay, that's a very good question. We can split it up by a little, we can split it up by parts.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with how are we going to create that vision, okay?
Exactly.
So as I already told you, it has a lot to do with business, right? This is my target. This is what I want. This is what I need. It has a lot to do with users. When you say they are using it, they're not using it, and it has to do a lot with context, right? I would say those three are the main three that you need to always consider whenever you're thinking about strategy. Okay? So context also dictates a lot of new things, as I already told you, right? New technologies, new environments, new behaviors, and new needs. And then UX usually answers to those needs and behaviors, right? So you're actually implementing UX on every single step of the way. UX is also in charge of streamlining whatever thing you need to do. And this can be measured in a lot of things, right? It can be measured in how many times you iterated your product, how many things. I personally like to measure it in wasted potential features, right? I didn't build anything that wasn't needed because it took time, it took money, and it took patience from everyone, which wasn't worth it. You can also measure it by product success. You can measure it by income, right? By return of investment. There are a gazillion ways in which you can measure it.
But for us, like for the product strategies, the research, the team, the agency, how do we measure it as a success?
Okay, so it has to do with three things. The first one is bounce rate. The second thing is statistic, whatever statistic you place, four, sorry. bounce rate, statistics. I would say customer satisfaction. That's also very important. I don't know if you've noticed the little stars on the apps, on the App Store and everything. That's very important to us. Please always put your apps, guys.
We sometimes say like, another day. Yeah.
Exactly. And the other part is obviously growth, right? You want every single product to grow. So as long as the product is growing and it's not dying in a way, then you can consider it a huge success.
Okay. Because I was talking to Sydney, I think 2 weeks ago, and sometimes, like she told me, sometimes it's so much easier to know when something is not working, when something that we did in the UX is not working. So knowing that you did something wrong is really obvious, but knowing that you did something right is not that obvious, and it's difficult. So I found out that interesting. Yeah.
You have to figure out a way in which you're gonna measure your success, because it's not only what means success, it's also how am I gonna measure it, right? Exactly. So it can be by analytics, it can be by key performance indicators, and every single thing that you decide how to measure needs to be smart, which means that needs to be specific, needs to be measurable, needs to be achievable, relevant, and time-bound. If those criteria don't fit in within your margin of am I succeeding or not, then you're never going to know if your product is actually doing it, right?
Right.
Again, it's also very personalized depending on what your clients or whomever is building the product defines as success. Because a lot of people might say, oh, I want more and more and more people, right? I want the product to grow in a scalable model, and I just need more users. And there are some people who say, I don't mind if I keep my users, but I don't want them to drop. So then your KPI might be the drop rate, right?
Exactly.
So you need to establish from the beginning what you're going to measure, how you're going to measure it, and why you're going to measure it.
Okay. That was my last question, actually. I found it really interesting. Do you think that something is missing that I didn't ask? And maybe you want to add?
What is product management?
Good question. The basics. Exactly.
So, okay. So a product manager, I like to call it the multitask decision maker. Okay. So a product manager needs to make sure that both the design and product teams and the business teams are basically happy, smiling, thriving, and winning. It's an entirely mediator role, which is based on making decisions. So your UX team might comment, or your researcher might come and tell you, so this is what I want to build and I want to do it. And you as a product manager need to make sure that this is aligned with your business objectives or otherwise, right?
Yeah.
So it's, again, a mediator role in which you need to establish what, who, and when.
And regularly, a product strategist in the background is a UX designer. What is the background of a product designer?
Strategist or manager?
Product strategist.
Okay, so product strategists come from very different disciplines. I would say there are a lot of hard skills required, such as, for example, learning how to use Figma, because everyone works in Figma. Hey, it took me a very long time to learn that. But you might see that there are product strategists from all around. I personally, I'm a designer. I used to work at a consultancy firm, right? But you might also see people who come from other large consultancy groups. You might see engineers. You might see psychologists. The most important thing when finding a product strategist is common sense.
Which is really hard, I know.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's the most important thing. Usually if you have common sense and you understand technology, because we're also talking about technology, right? You will be able to build a strategic roadmap with the correct training, right? It's not only like, I magically became a product strategist. You need to read a lot, learn a lot, but you're still on the run to become.
But you don't need like a specialized background, right?
You can have specialized backgrounds. You can have specialized backgrounds in any masters or careers within innovation and strategy, innovation strategy. There are also a lot of product strategy courses, which I think that could also be taken. But as I already mentioned, I personally believe that it's more about common sense and liking the job, because it is a tough job. You need
I
to
can
mediate.
imagine.
So
Like-
if you like the job and learn, I think.
And you need to be with a lot of type of people. Like the clients could be difficult, and the designers, it's all a different kind of people and the way they think. So yeah, and if they're involved in development, oh my God. So yeah.
Something that I would advise to people who want to become whatever, like even have fun in life. You should start thinking and taking design thinking methodology courses, because it's something that before sounded quite strange. Divergent thinking, innovation thinking, but now is something that everyone expects you to have.
Yeah, and so interesting. I really
Yes,
do
for
believe
example,
it.
I taught a class to sixth graders, I think 2 weeks ago, with a design thinking workshop, and they knew how to do it. They were like, yeah, I'm gonna paste this post-it. And I was like, wow, they're sixth graders, It was super cool. So it's something that you should be.
Yeah, and in the past, it wasn't that common. I don't remember having that class in school. And actually I started doing that when I joined Wonder, until I joined here and I talked to Jeannie and she recommended a few videos and a book, and I started reading. I realized like why I didn't know about it my whole life. Like it doesn't matter if I'm working at Wonder.
Solve everything.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
When planning your holidays, now that we're about to go in holidays, when planning your holidays, you can always run a workshop with whomever you're planning to go. It works. It's great.
I will try it.
Yes.
I will try it. Thank you so much for your time, Paula.